I'll continue. By then they will join. I'll just introduce. So basically, in some projects, they use message queuing mechanism. Okay. Mostly when they are using APIs, which are application programming interfaces, they will use this. Okay, and they ask the testing team to test it too. So in which case you need to be aware of what the message queuing MQ is. So this is just an introduction. We are not going in depth about it. Whatever is required for message queuing testing, that's sufficient to know. So what is a message queue? What is the definition of message queue? Message queue is a queue of messages, like the name suggests, sent between two or more applications. Okay, so that's it basically says about not just communication, it also says about if you're trying to communicate multiple messages, you have to determine which message should go first and which later. So there are different mechanisms like first in, first out, and all these stacking mechanisms, just like in warehouse, in our go down, if you unload the unload the stuff from a truck, how it goes, like how do you put and how do you get out of warehouse. So those kind of same thing virtual in IT also, it's same thing is applies. So this message queue includes a sequence of work objects. Okay, in real life, in real world, it's a load, but it's a basically objects, work objects that are waiting to be processed. Okay, so since there may be a humongous work objects, like thousands, millions, especially if you take Amazon or Google, there will be many. So in which case you have to predetermine like which first in, first out, or last in, first out, or whichever is the case may be. So that all is defined in the message queuing. A message is the data. What is a message? A message is the data transported between the sender and the receiver application. Okay, just like in real time, it's a go down or warehouse to the store. So it's essentially a byte array with some headers on top, just like an XML is when XML is defined. So message queuing allows applications to communicate by sending message to each other. The message queue provides a temporary message storage, like a cache or a buffer. Temporary message storage unit. The destination program is busy or not connected. Okay, so then what is a queue? What is a queue? Queue is just like in real world, is a line of things, or line of, just like in line of human beings, line of things waiting to be handled or processed. So they have to sit there until their token comes or their chance comes. So in sequential order, starting at the beginning of the line. So one by one, whichever is in the beginning of the line, they will be processed or handled first. So a message queue is a queue of messages sent between applications. That's already done. It includes a sequence of work objects that are waiting to process. So what is a message then? Message is a data transported between the sender and the receiver. So sender application, everything is an application. It's sender and the receiver application. It's essentially byte array. Okay, same thing I am repeating. I just took the notes from the net. So what is a message queue? Okay, so the basic architecture of a message queue is simple. There are client applications called producers that create messages and deliver them to the message queue. Another application called consumer connect to the queue and get the message to be processed. And messages placed onto the queue are stored until the customer retrieves them. So this is the basic mechanism in real world. So everything is defined just like in real world. There are two types of messages. One is synchronous and one is asynchronous. So in synchronous data transfer, sender and receivers use the same clock signal. So the synchronous data transfer supports high data transfer rate, and this needs clock signal between the sender and receiver and requires a master slave configuration. And asynchronous data transfer, sender provides a synchronization signal to the receiver before starting the transfer of each message. And the synchronous data transfer does not need the clock signal between sender and receiver. And this is slower data transfer rate. It has slower data transfer. So that's introduction. Then how do we test the message queuing messages? It uses queuing mechanism. There are two popular tools which are RFHutil or Message Queue Explorer. These are open source, so you can download them. I think one of them is license based. I don't know which one is. One is Microsoft's and other is open source. So check them out. And the basic need of these tools is to monitor, to check the messages, how the queue is working to process or handle the messages. So when I say messages, they might be in XML format or JSON format. So either for SOAP or REST APIs. So if you're dealing with the bulk messages, you need to use the message queuing mechanism. Okay. Now, okay, how do the message queuing mechanism works basically? So what kind of architecture we use? Message oriented middleware, MOAM, otherwise known as. So simply saying, we have two platforms, platform A, platform B, sender and receiver, and you put the message in to platform A and you get the message out of platform B. So this is the simplest message queuing. Likewise, there may be more than 2, 3, 4, 5, and it gets complicated. Okay, so message connection is, like I said, there are two types only, get and put. And there are two types of message queue, synchronous and asynchronous. And message series objects, message queue manager, and queue channels and listeners will be there. So this is in depth. Whoever is the developer of message queuing, they will be dealing with it. So it's just, I am briefing about the glossary points. And triggers, how this trigger mechanism will be upon S1 and it triggers S2 and which in turn triggers S3. And there will be transmit queue, destination queue manager. Channels are unidirectional, so that means both directions, sender queue, message queue. It has two-way communication with receiver QM, because receiver can also send, in which case sender acts as a receiver and receiver acts as a sender. So, and vice versa. There will be two types of listeners, TCP IP, this is a protocol, internet protocol, and TCP, transaction control protocol, and IP means internet protocol. So these are the main two protocols which we use in as of now today in the web-based application. So the prerequisite is listener needs to be running all the time. If listener is running, queue messenger is running. If listener is not running, QM is not running. That's what it means. Okay, so in QM we have queues, channels, listeners, and you need to ask what is the size of message, okay, to the developer, whoever is developing the message, working on the message queue. And the max limit is 50 MB. You cannot go beyond it. So it's also probably depending upon the technology or system they are using. And it's basically in terms of XML. So I just provided the XML in the beginning. Everybody knows XML. This like home, there will be header. So I just omitted the header. Home is the topmost, let's say. Home has rooms, and room one, okay, you can provide inside like room has color, color is blue, end of the color, then blah blah blah. You can enter. Then room is ended. Then you can similarly put room to object, and it has sub objects, blah blah blah, and room to ended, rooms to ended, rooms ended, then home ended. So this is the overall basic structure of an XML message, right? So if it is a JSON, it will be like this: flower bracket, username within quotes, colon, its value. This is the object name. This is the object value, separated by comma. Then object to value, and then another object which has sub objects. So every time you need to put sub objects, you put these brackets. So this ended right here. This is the end, and finally this got ended, this one. Okay, so if a sub object has sub a children objects, child objects, you put them inside the parenthesis, not parenthesis, the square bracket. So the flower bracket and square bracket. So flower bracket determines the object, the sub object total, and inside sub object they have the properties. You can treat these as property and value combinations. You can put it in inside a square bracket. Okay, so there are basic commands. You can use the tool, which is a graphical tool, or you can also use a command tool. So if you are using command tool, these are the basic commands, just like UNIX commands. Current depth returns the current depth of the queue, and put is to put the message into queue, get is to get the message out of the queue, CLVSNL property of the queue, DSMPQ displays all queue messages and properties, run MQESC followed by queue manager name. Okay, so you just have to give the queue manager name here, actual name. Let's say it can be ABCDE or whatever. So that will run the get into queue manager listener, display queue local, queue manager name. This displays the queue local queue and its properties and messages, and remote queue, same thing. ls exception will return exception. Most of these are like which mostly used, some are non-used, so I just stated most widely, most frequently used. lsexcp h1 returns last 1 hour, what are the messages handled, and lsexcp h-24 with this will return messages handled in the last 24 hours. So these are the basics about message queuing. I'll add more notes. I just took the notes from my previous project. Okay, so let's also cover a little bit about UNIX, I guess. Yeah. Okay, everybody knows about UNIX, right? So in some cases, you need to work on UNIX also. So mostly you need to know some commands, that's all. Okay, let's Google basic commands. You can always Google. Okay, so this seems to be a good site. I always prefer this. Okay, so you will be having putty or like this. If you install putty, it will open a command prompt window like this, and just like this, this is my MS-DOS window. So ls works as the same way. It displays all the folders and directories and files inside with all the properties. So ls will list all your files like this. I don't think ls will work here because this is MS-DOS. So you can install putty and practice these commands. lsl lists all your files in long format, and lsa lists all your files including ones those with a dot, so you can see for yourself. And MV, moving a file from source to destination. So you can specify the source and destination directory. The file name means directory with the file name. And to copy CP, okay, just like make here move directory MK, I think you can put help and find out. So these are the help commands, right? Likewise, you can put man, I think man command will give you a list of all, or if you want to know about its usage of a specific command, you can put man in Unix. So for moving, move is a command in DOS. Likewise, MV is a command for Unix. And copy COPY, copy is a copy in here, I guess. Yeah, copy copies one or more files to another location. So just like that, CP is a command in Unix. Remove direct, removes a file or directory, RM. So in this case, remove directory, RMDA, or removes a directory, and removes file. Okay, directory and files will be treated the same way here. So RM means removes a file, and diff is like comparing two files, and what is the difference of lines, where exactly the two files differ in terms of lines and words and everything. So you can put diff. So mostly we will be using diff in Java also, because once you check in the file and others want to know what is the original file would look like. So by diff, they can compare old file and new file, so that they can know the changes, exactly what the changes were there. Chmod is actually for the mode of file name. So there will be something like write mode, read mode, and execute mode, three things, which are determined by, I don't know exactly. 777 is all permissions, and 000 no permission in between them. You can try out them, because I don't have putty, I cannot exactly show you. So you can try out these commands. How do you zip a file? You can use gunzip, gzip in Unix. And directory related commands, these are the ones. And if you want to know password, pwd if you want to change it, change password, I think. And cd if you want to change to directory, cd directory name, that will jump to directory. Make directory, mkdir directory name, this will create a directory in the current wherever you are. And grep is most widely used, because in case you need to find out the exceptions, mostly the logs will be stored in the Unix environment, not in the Windows. So you can use putty or WinSAP. WinSAP you can open, but mostly putty you can do a lot of things, like you can trace the logs, and you can find some specific term in the logs using grep command, grep string file names. It will exactly search those terms. If you're looking for some file not found exception or no such element found exception, you can search those terms, and it will highlight those exactly, just like Windows does when you use find feature. And these are about people who worked on this. What is the last? What is who am I? All these things. Who am I will return the who's current user, that you logged in. You can try out those. If you want to kill a process, you can kill by mentioning process ID. Blah blah blah. And you can easily find the host name also. So in Chrome, in Windows, Windows and Unix, it will be the same. So just type host name. This will be the host name, and if you want to know IP, this will return, and subnet mask. This will be your not IPv4. This is your IP. And what else? There are many commands. How to clear CLS, clear screen. So the Say some comments will differ from MS-DOS to Unix. So these are all comments. So you can get them by heart if you use them a lot. Okay, like I said, man command name. This will show the help section of the page, just like help. I want to know the help of DA, what it does. So then it will list all the different options with the DA. DA/B will do something else. DA/C displays 1,000 separator in file sizes. DA/O list all files by sorted order, like that. And you can find the date. You can change the date or just escape it, or Control Shift Q. Control Shift WQ will save the work and quit, and Shift Q will quit out of the file without saving it. So you can try all this. So what I'll do is I'll just put these basic Unix commands into these notes so that you can refer to that later. Okay, so Unix and little bit of message queuing, that's all you need to know. So more than which will confuse you. Regarding some interview questions, what I did was I already compiled them. Since you are already aware of it, I will go through them. Basically, they will ask questions about XPath, because XPath is a backbone of Selenium automation. So the difference between CSS Selector or CSS Locator and XPath, what is the difference between them? Okay, if that is a question, how do you answer? Anybody can answer. Anybody can say the answer. What is the difference between XPath and CSS Selector? Anybody can jump in and read so that others will listen to it and understand, and let me know if you don't understand something. Okay, so I'll call first for Hana Ali. Okay, what is the difference between, primary difference between XPath and CSS Locator? Okay, can you read out?
Yeah, CSS Selector is faster than XPath.
That is one difference. What is the other?
And the other one is unlike the XPath Locator, CSS Selector exhibit inconsistent behavior across different browsers.
That means consistency. First is the speed, next is consistency, which has more consistency and which has less one.
It is much easier to from CSS Selector than XPath.
Okay, so basically they are pointing out the pros of CSS Selector and cons of the XPath. So you can add more points. This is just a brief answer, but you can elaborate it. So CSS Selector is faster than XPath, which is correct, because because of the various reasons. Okay, you can just say that. And CSS Selector is more consistent than the XPath, which is pro of CSS Selector, con of XPath, and advantage of the CSS Selector and disadvantage for the XPath. And also easier to use. CSS Selector easier than XPath. Okay, those are all pros of CSS Selector. So XPath's pros, let me state. You can note down. So XPath is more accurate. When you're talking about the accuracy, XPath comes first. XPath is more accurate than CSS. Okay. And number two, XPath is XPath can easily be customized according to the property or properties provided for any object in the DOM by the developer. What does it mean? So for example, a property of an object, like it says ID is ABC123, and next time I refresh the page, it changes ABC234. Next, if I refresh the page, it's changing to ABC. ABC is same, but it's changing the number dynamically. Or date, number can be any date also, date with the current millisecond. So XPath, using XPath, what I can do is I can use a contains, right? Contains, and just take the ABC ID, contains ID ABC. That's it. So remaining I can put it, leave it. So that will also work. But if I want to take into consideration that date also, whatever is dynamic value, it could be anything. Like for example, if I enter name in some field, and it is putting that name, suffixing that name to the property, that's also possible. So in these cases, I can create a function, XPath function, like I showed you, and return that whole XPath with dynamic and static value. So that is possible with the XPath. So these are the two advantages with the XPath, which are not, which are the disadvantages with the CSS. So you can list out all of those, doesn't matter. So it's ultimately, it's a matter of choice. You can choose to use XPath or CSS or both, combination of both. Okay, so the couple of second question is also pertaining to the same. What is a beneficial? Yeah, that's exactly what is stated. How would you locate paragraph element, both immediate and the descendants of the div element? Okay, this is mostly we have seen. Okay, how do you locate descendant and its parent and immediate relative and distant relative, all these things. Okay, how do you represent? I showed you what is the symbol to represent. Muhammad Rahaduzaman. Can you say? This is the standard question again. How do you determine the descendant and immediate relative and distant relative? What is the symbol? It is there, right? Answer is right there. You can just read.
It's a for a URL path. It's // and sometimes it's used greater than or less than sign to identify ascending or descending order.
Okay, so great. I didn't show you the greater than, so you are just reading. So greater than is used in the CSS selector. We haven't used the CSS much. Okay, but it is good to know. But in XPath we use slash, single slash, to represent the immediate child or immediate parent, whatever the case may be. The parent will be lying on the left side, child will be lying on the right side. So slash will represent that immediate relative, whether it's child or parent, so it's a relative. So double slash, if you put double slash, it is a distant relative. So that's why you remember we start any XPath with a double slash. Okay, you can check the code. Double slash means there will be too many, like in the beginning there it will start with HTML, right? So we are not going to mention all of those. So what we will do, we will just simply put double slash. Okay, let me take one example here, right here. So let's open DOM. How do you open DOM? More tools, developer tools, or Control-Shift-I, or simply Control-I, whichever. Okay, so let's see now. Okay, this is just some hyperlinks and text inside. So let's choose hyperlink. Okay, now this is A and this is some property values, right? Now if you go back, the A is in some ULI list, LI is in some UL, UL is in body, body is in HTML. HTML is the topmost. So if you want to start with HTML, then you can start HTML slash body slash blah blah blah, but it will be too lengthy. So what we'll do is we'll find the relative XPath. So relative XPath will be using what? Double slash. So double slash, you don't have to repeat HTML. I can directly start from here or just immediate if it is not providing the single match. So A, and there will be many A's. Again, you do this. All right. Okay, let's go for this guy. More Unix. A, and I can go for text, more Unix, right? So in this case, I want to use, like I said, more Unix, and let's say there is 1, 2, 3, 4, which is changing dynamically every time I refresh the page, let's say. In which case I have to use the contents, right? So let's use the contents, even though dynamic value is not there. So what is the syntax? Contains, and this is the text property. It is the href property, the href value. Nothing is mentioned. What you see is a text property. So I can use text, comma. So instead of more Unix, I'll just use Unix, case sensitive. All right. So now, okay, actually, this has to be parenthesis, and this contains followed by parenthesis. Okay, now it's a one match, single match. Okay, it's actually hiding under this one. So let me. Okay, yeah, here 1 of 2. Okay, so 1 of 2, you have to reduce it to 1 of 1. So what you have to do, you have to provide some child or parent. Okay, so that is in H1. So always remember, if it is on the same line, it is a sibling. If it is on a different line, it is a parent. So it is in the body. So let's put body here. So body slash, now 1 of 1. So that's how you have to work on the any given XPath. Okay. So advantages, I used simple relative path without repeating all the way from HTML, and I use contains, right? Just partial match will be suffice. Okay, so those things you can specify. Okay, just like this. DUP, this is the CSS selector, this is the XPath, same thing, but whichever is the case, maybe if you're preferring to say use CSS selector, you can use this div /p immediate. Div has p. This is same thing. Okay, there is HTML blah 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 on the left side, so you forget about that. And div has p. That's it. And you don't have to mention the property value unless you don't have 1 of 1 match, because I may not get a 1 of 1 match. That's why I use. So if I remove this, if it is still showing 1 of 1 match, you're still good. Okay, it's not showing 1 of 1. So this is
I
all
have
about.
one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, why you type body? Could you explain again?
Yeah. While you type body, yeah. What is the question?
Yeah. Can you explain to me again, please?
Okay, so I didn't start with body. I started with A, because when I did this, first thing you do is you inspect it. This is an inspector. Okay, I just clicked on it. Now it is black. Now it is blue, right? When it turns blue, that means the inspector is on. Now you go to that element and hover over it. Do not click on it. Now you see it is highlighted. Now you click on it. Okay. Now it highlights the yellow. The whole element is in yellow. Now you can see if you hover over yellow, it will highlight here. Right. Now you are on the correct page. Now I don't know what is its parent, what is its child. Now I start with the descendant. This is the descendant. A is the descendant. So I'll start with double slash, right? A, and I look at the property href more Unix. Okay. Href has more Unix. This one, and this is the text. Okay, let's do it little bit differently. Okay, contains, because I want to use partial match. Now href property can be determined by can be represented with @href. I told you. Text doesn't use @, all other properties use @ starting. comma. Now what is the value? This is the value, equals whatever is in the double quotes, that's the value. So I would just want to use UNIX, let's say. I don't want to repeat everything. So let's see if it works. Single quote closed, parenthesis closed, this is closed. Okay, now let's see if it is providing as a one-off-one match. No, it is not providing one-off-one match. There are two matches. So if that means that if I use this XPath, it's gonna get confused. It won't click on this link, whatever. So if you want to click on this, you have to be sure about it. A single match should be there. Okay. So let's try to fix this. More UNIX. Let's put a little bit more. It's still not working. So what I would do, I will look for other ways. So first thing that comes to mind is I have to mention its parent body, because the other XPath may be in this different parent. It may belong to the different parent. So what I will do is I'll come here. Children can be represented on the right side, okay, but parent can be represented on the left side. Okay. Now what I'll do, what is its parent? If I come right above, the H1 is on the same line. That means body has two children, H1 and A. That means H1 is a sibling of A. So I don't have to take sibling. There are other ways to represent sibling with double dot, but I can easily use a parent. So how do you use a parent? I'll just put body slash. Slash means immediate. Now it is one-off-one. Okay. That's what. Okay. You got it.
Yeah.
So CSS selector, instead of slash, you put greater than symbol. That's it. That's the only difference. So this is what I was telling. With the help of double slash, we can form the XPath and use a space char and CSS selector to locate the descendant. So in case of XPath, you use double slash. Okay. In case of CSS, you use space, simply space. So one more time, single slash equals to greater than symbol. In XPath, single slash means in CSS it is greater than. So single slash means, what is single slash? Immediate descendant. Okay. Now distant relative can be represented with double slash in XPath and with a space in CSS selector. That is the difference. Now there's a lot, you can get confused easily. I can see that. So that's why stick to one, either XPath or CSS selector, then you don't get confused. Double slash means relative, single slash means immediate. So this one example will suffice. This is relative, that means there are more. This is immediate, that means there is nothing in between div and p. Div is the immediate parent of p. P is the immediate child of div. That's what it means. So all we have to do is get the single match ultimately. That's what is needed. Okay, so moving on to next question. When should you use headless driver in Selenium testing? Also, how will you handle if a test fails using the headless driver? Okay, I didn't tell you about this. So headless driver is like you don't see the browser like this. This is the Chrome browser, right? So if I'm doing something, if I click on something, I'll see the page visually, and you can take the screenshot. So there is one driver, headless driver, that is, I will show you. There is a HTML driver. If you download it, you can use it. So that will run the whole automation test case or test cases on the back end, background. Okay, you don't see what's going on. Finally, it will show you the result, pass or fail. But you can't see, you can't report, you can't print the screen or nothing. So for that will be faster a little bit, but I don't think there is a usage of it. We used to use this, but it's you don't see it, so you're not sure about it. You can't verify it visually. So okay, that is one of the libraries I just put. Everything is there in the Google Drive. I put it. You can take it from there. So that's the one, HTML unit. So that will be the headless browser. But it is good to know. So test execution using headless driver is faster because it doesn't use any screens to load, right? It doesn't need to load. If there are a lot of images, it doesn't have to. It will go faster. Just navigate and validate and capture whatever you want to do and go faster. And with this standard WebDriver, mostly we use it when we wish to run tests in a silent mode. Exactly. So the likely scenario where it can be useful are when running the test from the command line for nightly execution or launching them from a CA tool like Jenkins and Bamboo. Yes. So nightly, when you run the nightly builds, after that you want to run the regression suite in the nightly. You don't want to take a look at them, right? In old days. So you just run them in a silent mode without taking screenshot, and it will be faster. By the time you come to the office in the morning, all the 200 test cases, whatever, will be ready. Okay. But the problem is you can't verify them. So without reports, if you're good with, okay with that, that's fine. So mostly they will be useful in continuous integration tools like Jenkins, Bamboo. What is a continuous integration? Continuous integration means you test it continuously. Whenever there is a build deployment, you immediately run the test. So Jenkins is capable of doing that automatically, and Bamboo is another tool. So especially if it is involving APIs or web services where there is no front end, then this is very good tool, this headless driver. But if your web application has web interface like this, then I don't recommend this. So, but it is good to know, since this driver means headless driver or HTML unit driver doesn't have any built-in mechanism to handle errors. So the developers have to devise error handlers that can capture screenshots or log them to the console. Exactly. So you have to create separate handlers to take the screenshots and everything. So that's not the problem for us anymore because we don't use it. We use Chrome driver or Firefox driver. Okay. What is the application of Java reflection APIs in the Selenium WebDriver? So APIs, like I just was talking about it, it uses no front end. That means everything is communicated in terms of XMLs or RESTful services. There is no need for HTML because HTML is just used for the display purpose. If I want to see this, then I should use HTML. This is, everything is in the HTML. If you look at the view page source, okay, see, this is totally HTML page. It starts with HTML head, title, blah blah blah, and you can save it as a HTML text and load it locally in the browser. It will still display the same thing here. Okay, but there needs to be this without functionality, but there needs to be some communication happening between two applications, right? That is the XMLs or RESTful or APIs, which we call. Exactly what is API? API is like a waiter in a hotel. If you go to a hotel and sit down at your reserved table and you want to order some dish, and what do? You don't go directly to the chef inside and you want to order, right? That's not gonna work like that. So there is a waiter comes and takes your order and understands your order. Any customizations, you don't want peanuts and stuff like that, you don't want spice level to be medium, etc., and he communicates the same in chef's language, right? So he understands your language and he translates that language to chef's language, whatever he can understand. So he's acting as an interface between customer and the chef. So API exactly does the same thing. It exactly acts as an interface between two different systems, customer and chef. For example, it understands the first system, translates in such a way that it will be understood by the second system, and second system will respond to that. Now again, API will understand that response and translates in such a way that the first system understands it. So when it receives a response from second system, then first system, what it does, it will again put it in the HTML format. So this is the overall mechanism that goes in the under the hood background. So that thing is taken care of by the API. So there will be REST APIs, and we need to test those two. So like I said, so the best ways to test during nightly builds is using headless browser. But if some applications uses both front-end and web-based web services like APIs, then you have to use Chrome driver only, because you need to take screenshots and you need to test the APIs. So the keyword, we can use the concept of reflection for implementing the keyword and data-driven framework using Selenium WebDriver. Exactly, we did the same thing. Keyword means function, reusable function. We created a lot of reusable functions and used them. Data-driven means we created data pool and put it in an Excel spreadsheet, and then we draw the whole test case with this data. That's what it is, data-driven. And the keywords hold the names of Selenium methods. Exactly. Keyword means nothing but a Selenium method name to be called by the framework. The reflection APIs provide the ability to translate the name into method objects which accepts the argument and invoke the actual Selenium API. Okay, don't get confused with the second line. It just means that we will create some utils interact with, whether it's database interaction or web service interaction, API interaction. We just use a utils or jars. For example, for API, I would use rest assured jar, and rest assured jar has all these keywords, methods. All I have to do is just use those methods, call those methods. Okay. How to refresh a page using Selenium that works on all browsers. Okay, this is very important, because in most of the projects we might need to use a cross-browser testing, meaning that different browsers, Firefox, Chrome, Edge, IE, Opera, whatever it is. Okay, how do you do this if you want to refresh a page? That's what. How do you open the launch browser and open URL? Using driver.get. This already you know. Same way, driver.navigate.refresh will refresh the page. For example, if you are expecting some dynamic element to be displayed in the page, so then simply do this. This is irrespective of the browser, .refresh. So we haven't used this, but you try to use this, but you have to wait, put some implicit wait before and after, because it refresh takes some time. Okay, so if you want to execute a script, okay, simply driver is capable of doing that. Everything is there in the driver method. So there is a method called execute script, and you can mention the script, whatever you want. If you want to go to the previous page, or if you want to go to the previous 10th page, you can history.go10. So you can try this. These are not useful, but just good to learn. Okay. What is a marionette and how does it work and when should you use it? Okay. This name is actually changed right now, so don't go for it. It's when Selenium 2.x version was there. Now we are using Selenium 3.x. X can be 1, 2, 3, 4, anything, 3.14 or something. So right now it is called Gecko driver. Okay, because we have been I haven't run, but I asked you to run. Remember? So you just use this. Instead of this, there is a config file I provided. Just change Chrome to Firefox. That's all, and it will use this here. So Gecko driver is the one, and this runs. So Gecko driver is nothing but it has implemented all the methods in the WebDriver interface, and it will enable you to run these, run whatever automation code you have developed into the Firefox. So there is no need to change any automation. Irrespective of the browser, it will work. All you need to do is just point your system.setProperty thing, remember, and to this one, and then you instantiate the Gecko driver. Like WebDriver driver is equal to new Chrome driver. You have to say WebDriver driver is equal to new Firefox driver or Gecko driver. Okay, that is already there in the reusable function. You just have to use setup.test run setup. So everything is there. But in interview purpose, you have to explain this. You cannot say, okay, I'll just use setup.test run setup. Nobody knows what that is, because we have created, right? So on the that is on the surface level. On the ground level, this is what you have to say. We should use Marionette to run UI test on Firefox. Correct. UI tests, remember, user interface tests. That means front-end tests, which involves browser. A test automation developer should add its dependencies to the framework What are the dependencies? This dependency and any other dependencies. If you are using any other jobs, you should have already added them, and import those required classes and call the methods to the control. So how do you import these? How do you import these? I already told you how to import these in the notes. Okay. How do you import jars? If that is the question, how do you say? Anyone? Here I mentioned how do you configure the drivers, unzip the drivers and store them in some location. This could be any location. So let's say I stored in this location. So you mentioned this location. All right. And go to Eclipse and right click on the project and it will open build path. Go there, configure build path, click on it, click on test tab libraries, add this, add user library, and then create new library called libs or lib, whichever is the case may be, because I changed it to lib. So let's use the lib, and then there will be an option called add external jars. Then browse all of this and finish apply. So that's how you add. That means that if I want to use database utility, then this will have some methods, built-in methods. So only if you add them, import these jars to your build path, you will be able to use the methods inside it. Okay. So otherwise you cannot. It will throw exception. It could not find that method. That's what it shows, throws. Okay. So what is a Selenium element reference exception? Okay, these are there will be questions related to different kinds of exceptions, like no such element found exception, file not found exception, Selenium element reference exception. Okay, so no such element found exception is thrown when you see the no such element found exception. Anyone? Mim? When do you see the no such element found exception? The name itself says about what kind of exception it is. No such element found. So that means, can you unmute and say the same name? No such element found exception. Are you on, Mim? Okay, I think Mim is sleeping. Let's move on to Mozamel Haq. Okay, what is no such element found exception? When do you get it? I already explained about these, but interview point of view. Okay, how do you explain? Naeem?
Yeah, so exceptional, like if we don't find any elements, like it's gonna be through the error.
Correct, that's it. So if you don't find the element with the text path, it will throw that no such element. That's it.
Yeah.
So similarly, stale element reference exception, not element. Stale element means it is removed or deleted. It is not there in the DOM. So then it will throw the stale element exception. It is similar to the no such element, just a difference. So the stale element exception occurs if the element is either of the following two states: removed or deleted altogether or detached from the DOM. DOM means that's what we see, DOM, document object model. Okay. So how do you fix this? How do you fix the no such element found exception? You go to the DOM, and try to inspect it and re-evaluate the XPath. That's what we do. Similarly, we try to access the element multiple times in a loop before finally throwing the stale element exception. So it will retry. So if first time it doesn't find, it will try again. So then finally it throws this exception. So you can put the looper in your code and wrap it around a timer until it runs for a couple of times. But sometimes you avoid, in order to avoid this altogether, you first of all try to look for those elements which will not cause this exception in the first place. Okay, what is a page object model and page factory? So page factory, it is a design pattern which refers to treat web pages as classes. That's exactly we did. We treated every web page as a class. We created a class like if you remember that way, flight reservation application, find flight registration. We created registration.class and stored all the exports related to that page in that class. So that by default, if you use a page factory, it will do it for you. But we created our own. So manually we did it, which is better. Each member of the class points to an element that exists on the page, right? Each member means variable. We created public static final string, link underscore save equals whole export. That is a whole element. So each element of the each member of the class, that means each variable points to certain element in the page, and each element will have certain variable. Each variable will point to certain element. It's a one-to-one relationship. It offers an elegant way to creating test routines that have greater readability. Yes, greater readability because we created clearly with the naming convention link underscore save. So when I try to write the code or read the code, I can immediately tell what kind of object it is, what is object name, etc., etc. Maintenance is less. You don't have to maintain because everything is clearly stated, including its access modifiers, public, static, final string. Everything is clear and easy to extend. Yes, you can also extend it in future if you want to add or subtract some elements from it. You can do that. Okay, so page factory enables initialization of each element with counterpart element on the target web page. It opens up use of annotations at the rate find by to define strategies for selecting elements. Okay, this is actually test engine. I told you about the test engine in the very end, right? We used only 3 annotations: at the rate test, at the rate before test, at the rate after test. Likewise, there are many annotations. Okay, so I'll probably teach about these. At the rate find by actually is annotation. It directly uses the by class and to locate. So you can avoid the whole the page objects model. So that uses page factory, used by page factory. Likewise, there are like we used Excel utils to read the data from Excel spreadsheet and store in a hash map, right? So that is our own user defined util. Okay. So if you want to use the test engine, it has data provider at the rate data provider and automatically asks you to enter the where the location of the this thing is, the data pool is, and it automatically reads and asks the raw data. So if you use a page factory, there are benefits which are part of test engine. Otherwise, we can use our own framework. It doesn't matter. Okay, but it's not better to combine both of them because both are doing the same thing. So you're gonna get confused if you use both. Either use page factory or use our own framework hybrid. So next question: what is the best way to integrate page objects model in Selenium WebDriver project? So this is easy because answer is right there. How do you integrate POM, page object model? While implementing the page object model, we should define the page classes exactly in the format as mentioned, right? So we use corresponding to the page. If it is like book a flight page, so we'll create a book a flight dot class dot java and put all those elements in that, and when it compiles, it creates a class book a flight dot class and it uses it, right? So that is mainly for the less maintenance purpose. You don't have to maintain much if you use such kind of page object model. So if you don't want to create your own page object model, you can use a page factory, and we should define the page classes exactly in the format as mentioned. That's what exactly I told you. The code below emphasizes that we should initialize the web elements using the page factory's init element method. Initialized element method. Okay. This dot browser is actually you can open the same PDF. It's a PDF screenshot. Okay, so page factory is this jar, you have to download this, and it has all these init elements, this jar browse. So let's try and see. So like I said, we don't have to use the page factory because we already have the framework in place. But let me show the page factory jar. Okay, so it is the latest version. You can download this and put it into here and add it to the build path and stuff like that. Then you will be able to use all the methods. So all the methods will be there in dot, just page factory dot, and you will be able to access them. Okay, so you can try this. Okay, so today that's all for today, and you can read all the rest of these things, or we'll cover these. There are many questions and answers like this. I just collected over the period of time on the net, and I will share this with you so that you can try. Okay, so likewise, you come here and you can download somewhere here. Okay, I'll share this document with you. Okay, any questions? I'll share it with you later.
Sangam, I have a question for you.
Yeah, tell me.
I actually email you for some of the utils we are actually using on automation. So I actually
Okay,
I
have used some utils which I have already shared in the Git.
Yeah, there is a
right?
test data pool. I actually need that
data
one.
So whatever needed to be used in terms of utils, I have put it. There are many utils, but we haven't used them. So maybe in the next batch, I will try.
The password ones, and if you're trying to the other if you go to the test.
Yeah, so these password utils, these have two functions, encrypt and decrypt, that's all. These are used for just encryption, decryption, that's all.
And the property utils, they are actually needed the test data pool. So without that one, I cannot run it. It shows me error.
Okay. So what exactly error you're getting? You're getting dependency error, right?
Yeah, I'm getting dependency error, and actually it didn't find the element. So when I'm trying to run the Mercury or the demo thing, the demos ones. So it's actually showing me the error that it didn't find the source of the elements from the property.
Okay, so is it throwing the file is not there? Then you have to put
it says file is not there, correct.
Oh, exactly. Then the file. What file is that? Can you tell me?
I actually didn't remember right now. I was trying.
File.
It says the file source are not there.
Right. So mainly this property utils will ask you to enter the location of the file. For example, I store some file here, right? Then it is expecting some file here, Excel file or whatever, or dot property file. I will show you. If you don't put, I think I know exactly what you're facing. I'll show you. You simply have to put some file, but I'll show you what file you have to put. Gate. This is a project. Okay, source. Okay, so the property file, all the files related to property tools that you are using, either this config. Do you have this file in this location?
Yeah, I do have this file. Yeah.
Okay, do you have the property also?
No, the environment properties. No, I don't have that one.
Okay, no. What exactly the exception you are getting? So then I can figure out what exactly is missing in
Okay,
your file.
just give me 1 second. I can tell you. Just give me 1 second.
Okay, yeah, cool. And related to this is not using anything. If you're getting some exception, probably it is related to jar, and that jar is already there. Probably it is in base64 jar or base64 class. So, okay, I know what you mean. Base64 is missing, correct? Yeah, so this is missing. I shared this with you. So yeah, I will commit this one. This needs base64. Okay. Regarding the other one, you are getting file not found
Yeah.
exception.
So just
Right.
give me a few
So
seconds
what
and
exactly?
I'll tell you the exact error.
Can you ping the stack trace? Oh, okay. You send it privately. Okay, we can look at the error in the next class. You can email me, okay? Since it's already 9:14, it's 1 hour class, so I'll end it.
Okay, cool. I'll send you the screenshot too.
Yeah, send it to everyone so that everyone is aware of that, and I will reply to that, or we can discuss in the next. All right.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Good night then.
Good night.